Rennie Knopf with Championship BBQ.TV, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Yay! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire fun and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with the show this evening, or you would like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show tonight can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter coming up in about 12 minutes from now, the second Tuesday of a month. In the first interview segment, that being 14 past the first hour, creator of the most heavily trafficked barbecue and grilling forum and website on the face of the earth, Meathead, from AmazingRibs.com. And this guy's all wound up. I mean, look at him already. He's got knives that he's flashing around. I mean, be careful. Don't hurt yourself before we get to the segment, Meathead. So, that's what we're doing leading off tonight, if you can believe it. And then, first hour, 35 past, recurring guest Robert Moss from robertfmoss.com. As we continue down our individual months of new segments, history, insight, education, Robert doing what he does the best, which is tackling a topic, researching, answering my dim-witted questions, but in the end, giving us a tremendous amount of information that benefits us, both from a knowledge standpoint, broadening our horizons and knowledge base, but also giving us some keen insight to the live fire world or where it's evolved from, which is what we'll be doing here this evening. That'll bring a wrap to the first hour. And then we'll move to the second hour. You saw him back a couple months ago in June, but May, let's say May. But he's back tonight, 10:14 in the second hour. One of the co-owners of Winners Products, James Howe. They make the Sam's Club grill that we talk about. We'll actually be talking about it here in about 8 minutes. The Members Mark Pro Series grills, both the 4-burner and the 5-burner. And James is back with us here this evening. Do a little bit of a look, for as much as he can tell us, about how happy Sam's Club is with that grill, how popular it is. I'm using it more and more. I'll tell you about that here in a couple minutes as well. And then we will talk about how manufacturing companies court, date, make calls upon brands, and then how do those deals go down? Again, James provides a tremendous amount of insight that us normal folk would never even know about, would never have access to the information to know that we don't know about it. Just an invaluable source, great friend of mine over these last couple years. And I think you'll find tonight's topics very intriguing, and we might be able to weave it into something that's going on with a grill manufacturer right now that we've been talking about here over the last couple weeks. So that's how the show is laying out tonight. Meathead, Robert Moss, your usual second Tuesday, first hour show. And then in the second hour, James Howe of Winners products. Don't forget, you can follow me socially, Instagram, X, TikTok, Snapchat, LinkedIn, all at BBQ Central Show. And we say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to facebook.com/BBQ Central Show or twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. Or you can watch the show on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where we have a new YouTube poll question of the week that we'll be asking everybody tonight. That includes all guests and you watching on YouTube. Did you watch either hot dog eating contest on July 4th? And currently 92% of you are saying, indeed, you did not watch either of the hot dog eating contests on July 4th, which means a paltry 8% of you did take in that. Results of the poll from last week. Did you sign up for the Z Grills promotion? We ended as we started. 100% of people voting said no, they did not sign up for the Z Grills promotion. And you know where we're starting tonight. It will come as no surprise that for the fourth week in a row, we start with a competitive hot dog eating update. Indeed, July 4th came and went, and even though there was no Joey Chestnut in Brooklyn this year, which continues to be a crime, there was a hot dog eating contest, and a new champion, a new mustard belt wearer was crowned and belt given to. His name, Patrick Bertoletti. He was on Steve Ray's Owl's Nest barbecue show last night. He crammed down 58 hot dogs and 58 buns in 10 minutes, too shy of 60. Can you imagine eating almost 60 hot dogs in 10 minutes? Last week, none of my guests, when I asked them, said they could even get close to 10 hot dogs in 10 minutes, let alone 60. So this is where I would normally congratulate Patrick on his well-earned victory, and I do congratulate him there. But Patrick is not...
Andrew, you are not the father.
Patrick is not the real champ here. Joey wasn't in Brooklyn, so whoever won the event was going to be the champ by default. But he's not the real champion, nor is 58 hot dogs and buns impressive. Now you might be asking yourself, how can I spit such nonsense? Well, I'm glad you asked. And the answer is easy. As I mentioned last week, Joey was in Fort Bliss doing his own contest with 4 brave Army soldiers looking to take down Jaws at their own event. Bit of a wrench tossed in. The 4 soldiers were teaming up all together to try and beat Joey with their collective total. Also, this contest was being held at a 5-minute time limit versus the 10-minute event you saw for Major League Eating in Brooklyn. And after 5 minutes, the collective total for the soldiers, 49 hot dogs and buns. After 5 minutes for Joey Chestnut, 57 hot dogs and 57 buns in 5 minutes. Do you see where this completely discredits whatever happened at the Major League Eating event in New York? Joey, at one less than Pat Bertoletti's 58 hot dogs taking the mustard belt. This is mind-boggling, record-breaking pace, to say the least. And I'm not going to say take 57, multiply it by 2, and you have Joey's total. First 5 minutes is not the same as the second 5 minutes at an eating competition. But can we say an additional 20 or more hot dogs? I mean, 20 or more with that extra 5 minutes get you a new world record. The record 76 set by Joey back in 2020. I don't like to play in the what-if space. Here's what we know. In half the time, Joey almost beat the guy who won the Nathan's Famous event earlier that day. That is why this whole thing is a national tragedy. The guy who is the best at this, not allowed to compete in the only event that anyone even knows about that the Major League Eating sanctions. They sanction many other events during the year, but the everyday ham and egger does not know, and they probably don't care about anything other than the hot dog eating event that appears on ESPN once per year on July 4th. And I'm here to tell you that if Joey was in Brooklyn this past July 4th, we would not be talking about how Pat Bertoletti took down Joey Chestnut in a tremendous upset victory, the likes no sport has ever seen ever. He would have been 15 plus hot dogs behind Joey at best. slam the asterisks on hot dog eating 2024 while the streak is over for consecutive wins for Joey, which is another national tragedy. There can be no one alive today that thinks Joey wouldn't have prevailed had he been allowed to compete. All Joey had to do was make Major League Eating and Nathan's Famous look ridiculous. Mission accomplished on Joey's part. So we congratulate Joey on showing everyone that he is still at the top of his hot dog eating game, and no one is close. Now, get together with Major League Eating and figure this shit out before next July, so I don't have to do another month on this coverage next year. No one cares that much about competitive eating, if we're being honest. I wonder how many hot dogs Meathead could put down in 10 minutes. We might lead with that, and he's a big hot dog fan, as you know. We once did a segment on regional styles of hot dogs about 13 years ago. He's ready to go, but before we do that, let me talk to you about Winners Products and the Members Mark Pro Series grill, as I told you about in the open. I am using this thing more and more, not because I have to, not because I'm under contract, not because I feel pressure to, because I want to. Super sexy, all stainless steel, 5 burners, a tremendous amount of space. You can use it just like a regular grill with the knobs, however you want to do it. Great warming rack as well. Doesn't take up a huge amount of space. You can work underneath it. Great ignition system. This thing is built to last. I was just talking with Rod Schrader a little earlier, who stopped in the studios as I was getting set up tonight. I said, I feel very confident that in 10 years, this grill is going to be in fine working order. And if it had a Weber badge on it, it would start at $1,800 with all the value that's built into this thing. But it's not. It's $699. It's only available at Sam's Club. So we say hello to the future of grilling with a patented thermostatic control technology. The 2 cooking modes, of course, barbecue mode, which I use a lot, which is your traditional grilling experience with varier temperatures, giving you control at each burner to adjust exactly as you want on your terms, or the game-changing oven mode. Simply set the thermostatic control dial to your desired temperature, and the grill transforms into a precision oven. And I can attest to that as well. Use it many times. The choice is simply yours, however you want to use it. Sometimes I start in grill mode, go to oven mode, or vice versa. Members Mark Pro Series with the patented thermostatic control now available at your local Sam's Club store. Go to samsclub.com, check it out before you head over and see it in person, or run the risk. Show up in person and fall in love immediately. Matt Osmond did, embedded correspondent from Tennessee. Meathead is ready to go. Stand by, we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
We welcome you back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all of your pellet-driven cookers. Check out what they have to offer over on their website, cookinpellets.com. And then when you're ready to purchase, go away from that website. Indeed, go to amazon.com or lowes.com or walmart.com. You can purchase all the same great products that you would find on the Cookin' Pellets website, except their shipping rates are much better at those other websites, as told to be by Cookin' Pellets owner Chris Becker. Don't think I'm trying to do hijinks or associate links or anything of the kind. Not like that. The good folks over at Cookin' Pellets. My first guest tonight has created one of the most heavily trafficked barbecue and grilling websites on the face of the earth. Should we say best-selling author? Yes. Should we say barbecue Hall of Famer? Of course. But most importantly, should we say Barbecue Central Show's guest Hall of Famer? Indeed. We welcome back our pal Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Meathead, as you know, we are starting off every segment with a YouTube poll question of the week. So we're asking all guests, like we're asking everybody watching on YouTube, did you watch either of the competitive hot dog eating contests on July 4th?
Nope.
94% of the voting public are with you and me not watching the competitive eating, whether it be in Brooklyn or in Fort Bliss, Texas. And Joey Chestnut takes down 57 hot dogs and buns in 5 minutes. Put to the test, Meathead, how many could you do in 5 minutes?
3.
Really? That's what I said.
I don't know. I love hot dogs. I recently got some from Allen Brothers. They're a little fatter than usual. And boy, are they ever good.
Are they like quarter pound hot
Allen
dogs?
Brothers. Pardon?
Are they like quarter pound hot dogs?
You know, I don't recall. I just know that they were bigger and fatter and just scrumptious. And I tell you, I love hot dogs so much, I'll eat them naked. I mean, the hot dogs are naked, not me.
Yeah, or both.
And yeah, I just love hot dogs. Of course, I'm from Chicago, so Chicago-style hot dog with the 7 required ingredients. But I'll take them New York style with the onion sauce, whatever. They're wonderful.
Meathead, give us an update on BBQ Stars, which is the website / number of 120, I believe the number was, of videos, broadcast quality that you bought a number of months ago. How's that integrating with the Amazing Ribs website?
Slowly. BBQ Stars, just for people who don't know, was a video series that launched in 2019 and had 120 really great broadcast quality videos from people like Tuffy Stone and Harry Sue and
Meathead.
Pardon?
Meathead.
Yeah, myself and others. And they were really good educational recipes and technique videos, and they sold for $299. And they sold a bunch of them over the course of the year, and then it just kind of petered out. And the people who launched it went off to other things, and we went to them and made them an offer and bought all 120 videos, and they are now free to members of our Pitmaster Club for their annual membership of $35, not $299, not $199, but only $35.
But wait, there's more.
They're fantastic. We're having it's BBQstars.com, and that's the website we bought. We're having a little issue with getting our members logged in, and 90% of them get in and out, no problem. But we've had a few where their ISP hosts have caused some problems. We're going to integrate the whole thing into WordPress eventually. Mm-hmm. But they're really great videos. Come down, take the free 30-day trial of the membership, get a taste of them. They're alone, not counting all the other cool stuff we have in the Pitmaster Club, worth the membership.
Would you say it's panning out, this whole venture? I mean, forget about integration, but otherwise, is it panning out the way you hoped?
Well, I mean, from a business standpoint, I know you love to talk business. AmazingRibs.com, they're our most important revenue stream, and is our membership. We have 2,000 free pages. Anybody can get to them. There's all kinds of great recipes, methodology, product reviews. We got Max Good, who's an occasional visitor here, who tests grills and smokers. And but the Pitmaster Club has all kinds of cool features, discounts from manufacturers and other things. And we block advertising on the website for members, which is really cool. But that's our most important revenue stream, and we have about 15,000 paid members right now, and $35 a year. That's a business model.
True or false? You're saying piss off to the standalone griddle.
Yeah, we were talking about this. I want to talk about that, but I got something on my mind here.
All right.
Today.
Okay.
Just a quick side trip. I will come back to this.
Sure.
Today I received 3 new knives. Now, I am not an expert knife tester. A tester.
I hope not.
But I know a little bit about knives, and I know a little bit about how they're made and the different materials they're made from. And this company called a Cooking Guild pitched me on some of their knives, and I said, send me a knife to test and let me see. And, I couldn't make them any promises. I never make promises on things for taste. This is the knife they sent me. It's a Damascus steel.
Yeah.
Now, I've never worked with Damascus steel, but Damascus steel is made from layers. It's kind of like a croissant or it's layers of different steels. So you have some steels which are very strong, some steels which are very sharp, and they layer. And I don't know if you can see, Greg, that beautiful. It has like watery, wavy layers in the bottom half.
Yeah.
Can you see the bottom half, not the top half?
Yeah, it looks like they pounded it out with a hammer almost.
Oh, they're beaten upon. I didn't get that in front of the camera.
You cut the microphone for a second.
Yeah, sorry. Look at this.
Wow. Look, it appears to be very sharp.
Very, very sharp. I was cutting tomatoes for pizza tonight, and it just glides through. I've never worked with a knife like this. Damascus steel is amazing. This Cooking Guild product. This is the Onyx Damascus steel.
What's that run, you think?
I think it's in the $150 range. I don't know.
Is there? They tell you how to maintain it.
It arrived today, and it just fucking blew my mind.
Whoa!
I'm sorry.
Wow. Can't swear on the internet.
I'm sorry. I don't curse on your show normally.
That's all right. What's the upkeep on that?
I'm sure that they have to be handled carefully in order to keep the edge. The theory of these different layers of steel is that they maintain their edge. I intend to reach out to them and ask them a bunch of questions and learn more. Maybe next month we can talk about them once I learn more about how these are made, what they're made from, and the pricing and everything. All I know is I was just so excited. I had to share them with you and your listeners because it's just absolutely the best knife I've ever used.
Is it like a 6-inch chef's knife kind of thing?
This is an 8-inch chef's knife.
8-inch, yeah.
And they sent me a couple of others. One is about 7 inches, and it's got a funny shape on the end. And they make a whole variety of blades. You go to
Cooking
Guild, and you can see them all there.
All right.
I'm not endorsing them yet because I haven't seen how long the blade lasts and that other thing. All I know is I've never cut with anything this sharp. It's just unbelievable.
All right, we'll get a month under your belt, and then we can have a recap on it.
Yeah, and I'll be beating on them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
In fact, I hate to say this, but I actually take them and rub them on bricks. Yeah. I try to destroy the blade to see how that handles, and so we'll see.
Yeah, let's see. Put it through its paces, and then we'll do a recap in August. All right, let's get back to griddles. I was making a statement saying you are saying piss off to standalone griddles. True or false?
Not piss off. I have always done griddling on my gas grill with a Lodge cast iron griddle, which is about 18 inches long and 6 or 8 inches wide and has a lip on it. And I've been doing this for years, and I love it. I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with it. Particularly, I love doing things like salmon on it because you can get a great dark sear without overcooking it. So I've been playing with these new flat top griddles that are the size of a whole gas grill. You know, they're
I have one
36, 48 inches long, and I'm not overly impressed. And of course, first of all, I'm only cooking for 2. Now, if I was cooking for 6, then I would want more surface area. But I think a grilled hamburger over flames still tastes better than a smash burger. And I've been doing the Oklahoma onion smash burgers, and by golly, they're marvelous. But I still prefer, and they're little 3 to 4 ounce patties, and you smash them down, and they get crispy and along the edges. But I still prefer a 6 to 8 ounce pub burger or a steakhouse burger over charcoal. And it just tastes better to me and has a better texture and flavor. So that's something I'm not crazy about. You can do things like stir fry, but I do stir fry in a wok, and I do my wok stir fry on top of a charcoal chimney. And I don't know if we've talked about this before, but you get a charcoal chimney, fill it halfway with charcoal, and the top of that thing is as hot as any Chinese restaurant. You put a wok on top, and it's far better than cooking it on your kitchen stove. Eggs, I'll do that in a frying pan. I don't need to. The biggest problem for me with these big flat top griddles is the cleanup. When you're done cooking, you have oil and grease and food bits on the surface. Most of them right now are made out of rolled steel, which is kind of like carbon steel. And they have to be cleaned and then treated like you would treat cast iron. You've got to give them a thin coat of oil, otherwise they'll rust. And, when I'm done cooking, I want to bring in the food. I want to sit down and eat the food, drink wine, enjoying conversation. Maybe afterwards get up and watch Netflix. And I don't want to have to, after I'm done cooking, send in the food and then stand there it's only 5 minutes, but I don't want to stand there for 5 minutes and clean the top of my griddle while it's still hot. You can't really clean it when it's cold. So then what happens is it sits there dirty overnight. And if I remember the next morning, I go out there and I fire it up, and I got to wait for it to get hot enough. And then I clean it up. And sometimes I forget for a day or two, and then the bugs find it. And I'm not a fan. Now, I know a lot of you guys like it, and you do all kinds of fun stuff. And I've seen fantastic videos and all kinds. It's just not something that thrills me personally. If you love it, bless you, have fun with it. But I'm just not crazy about it. And you and I talked about this offline the other day. And I wonder if this is kind of like sous vide. It's the trend that's hot right now, and maybe it'll be gone in 3-4 years. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think this one has proven that it's got legs. It's been around for any number of years. I think you see a spike in popularity because also we ran through COVID, but when wasn't something that had to do with outdoor grilling or barbecue, seeing an uptick, perhaps an inflated run on popularity. So that certainly didn't hurt from a popularity standpoint. I have a 36-inch Blackstone. They make a 24 or 28-inch Blackstone, smaller 2-burner opposed to the 4-burner. And I like using it. And is it a bit of a pain in the ass to clean up at the end? Yeah. Not so much to turn me off from using it or going out of my way to find other avenues ahead of time to make myself feel better for not using the Blackstone that's on the porch. So I do continue to use it regularly. I cook all the standard bullshit on it. I also try and get outside of the box. But depending on if you're using it, the Asian recipes always have thick sauces and high sugar content stuff, and that really has a tendency to stick on the steel. But at the end, as I'm pulling everything off, because it all kind of comes together at the same time, all burners on high, bring everything in, set a timer for 7-10 minutes, and then I will get up in the middle of eating and do the quick scrape off, hit it with a bunch of water, steam it off. Then I'll shut it off. That's all I do then. Go back, finish, and then I'll come back out. There's still a lot of residual heat because that steel holds the heat tremendously.
Yeah.
And then I'll just put a little thin layer of Krispy Kreme on the grill, and then it's done. So it's not fully involved.
That whole business about getting up in the middle of eating. I mean, dining to me, this is why I don't watch hot dog eating contests. I like to dine. I don't like to cram stuff in my mouth. I like to relax. I like to enjoy the company.
But I'm not eating at a breakneck speed. I'm eating at my regular pace, and the timer goes off, and then I take 2 minutes to do the thing, and I come back.
I use it. I enjoy it. It's just not something I use a lot. Now, right now, I'm testing one from Pit Boss, and theirs is ceramic coated, which means you don't have to cure it with oil. The ceramic coatings are on frying pans, and they are fantastic. Now, the one on my Pit Boss is not as slippery as the green pans that I use for omelets. Man, they're like a ski slope. They're just unbelievable. just the tiniest bit of oil, throw an omelet in there, and it's slipping around like crazy. This thing is slippery. It's much better than the rolled steel, I think. And the cleanup is much better. You don't have to worry about it rusting. It's not going to rust. But keep in mind, one thing that I haven't seen yet, and maybe you can correct me if you've seen them, a lot of the top restaurants that really lean on griddles, in the military, if you're on board a ship, they cook a lot of stuff on griddles. The surfaces are stainless steel.
Yeah.
They're heavy duty stainless steel, and they have to be spotless at the end of the day. And I've talked to guys who've cooked on them in the Navy, and they love them. And I haven't seen, I bought a stainless steel griddle insert for my gas grill, but it warped. It wasn't thick enough. It warped. I had oil running. I've played with a whole bunch of them. I mean, this is not an uneducated opinion here. I've played with a whole bunch of stuff. And, when I want it, there's a salmon dish that I love to do. And I do it on my Lodge cast iron griddle on top of my gas grill. And it's just fantastic. And there are a few other dishes that I love to do. I'll do the Oklahoma onion burgers. But in addition, I want to also touch on, now that we're talking about the rolled steel, cast iron in general, and several of these griddles are also made of cast iron. I'm just falling out of love with cast iron altogether. I have never been a fan of cast iron grill grates. They do make really great grill marks, but I'm not a fan of grill marks. Grill marks are the dark brown Maillard reaction, and I want my steaks dark brown all over, not just crosshatches, because in between those crosshatches, there is no grill mark, there is no Maillard reaction, and so you don't get that flavor that you get from a dark brown a piece of meat. And so the cast iron grill grates, they make great grill marks, but that's not for me. Now, if you really want those, you can get cast iron with enamel coating, and they're easier to clean because the straight cast iron will rust. You leave it out there overnight, and you come back the next day, and it's all rusty, and now you got to get at it with the wire brush, and it's just more trouble than it's worth. I like very thin grates, ideally stainless steel, maybe 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, so I can move the meat around and get it brown all over. And likewise, I am now falling out of love with my cast iron pans, which I've always loved and used.
Big fan.
But the same thing is they require a lot of maintenance. You've got to, and things, the way I cook, things stick to them, things blacken, things brown. And they say you're not supposed to use soap. Well, you can. You can use mild soaps on them, or you can use an abrasive like salt on them. And then when you're done, you've got to hit them with a light coat of oil so they don't rust. And that oil gets rancid. And if you cook fish in it, that fish oil is going to get into the surface. And I don't want fish flavor on my steak. So I use them for some things. I use them for shallow frying, like if I'm doing potato pancakes. I use them for cornbread. But, I'm just moving away from cast iron and carbon steel altogether.
So just to wrap up here in the next 15 seconds, Twin Eagles makes a stainless steel griddle. I know Sterling Ball uses one. It's in a built-in thing on his island, but then Dennis from Colorado weighed in the instant chat, said his Twin Eagles griddle is 1/4 inch stainless steel, 30 inches in size. Okay. So, and they're more of an upper echelon manufacturer of these stuff, so that's something to look at.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Well, I totally disagree about cast iron pans. You can get away from the rancid oil stuff that you were talking about. You use a product called Crisby Puck or Krispy Kreme or whatever, and that's way better to use than oil.
I've got all those creams, and they look like deodorant sticks.
They work great. They work great, by the way. And then I agree with you on cast iron cooking grates. I don't know why they're still made. I don't know why they're put in grills. They're nothing but rust waiting to happen. And unless you are all over that thing with Pam cooking spray after the fact, and religiously in between, you're going to get rust at some point. So I would rather have a porcelain coated cast iron if I have to have cast iron, but never raw. I'll toss it out, or I'll get a set of grill grates or do something else. But I've become a non-fan of cast iron grill grates for quite a long time. So we agree on 2 out of the 3 things for sure. So which is pretty much good for us. We're talking with.
Well, does that mean I'm invited back?
Yes, always, of course. Meathead from AmazingRibs.com is here, and you can check out the website. As he said, free 2,000 pages, but of course we both entice you to check out that Pitmasters Club for the free 30-day trial. Look at all the videos that he has up there too. And if you feel there's value there, sign up for the earth-shattering $35, not a month, a year. No more value to be had on the internet than that. So, Meathead, always appreciate the time, and get on that knife so we can start having a recap in August.
Great talking to you, Greg. Good night, Centralites.
Good night. Meathead right there with his knife, wielding. I don't like raw cast iron cooking grates. I really don't. All right, that's good. I just got an email that I've been waiting for. I was like, this is the email I'm not going to get a reply back to? This one? Which I could understand, I guess, but it's not. Are you tired of settling for mediocre grilling experiences? Yeah, of course you are. It's time to step your game up.
Step your game up.
Bring the ultimate flavor and the ultimate cooker to the backyard barbecues. Pits and Spits charcoal grills, offering the highest quality live fire cooking experience you can get in the market today, using either wood or charcoal. Their solid fuel grills produce those classic flavors you're looking for when you have the time to fire up the grill and cook for family and friends. With a large adjustable fuel tray, you can raise and lower the fire to control and fine-tune the heat. It's their take on the very popular Santa Maria-style grill. You can check them out online, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show. That's pitsandspits.com, double T on the Pits and Spits, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show. And then you were checking out promo code Charcoal Central for $150 off any charcoal grill that they have for sale. That's promo code Charcoal Central, all one word, for $150 off any charcoal grill that Pits and Spits sells. And you can peruse those grills at the aforementioned website, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. We are back with Robert Moss right after this. Stick around, be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the BBQ Central Show.
Hey, we thank Meathead for joining us the last segment. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Drive. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or you can connect via Bluetooth if you care to. A plethora of smart speakers are integrated with Fireboard as well, so check out, see if your speaker is. Fireboard.com is the website. You can call with your questions at 816-945-2232. My next guest, the contributing barbecue editor for Southern Living Magazine, a 2023 Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Famer. We welcome back our pal, Robert Moss. Robert, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody tonight, which is, did you watch either of the hot dog eating competitions on July 4th?
No, I did not.
89% of the YouTube voting public is saying no, they did not watch either, which is trending a little better now, 11% saying they did watch one or both. 58 hot dogs to the winner in New York, but in half the time, Joey Chestnut eats 57 hot dogs and buns. If he had an extra 10 minutes, how many do you think Joey could have ate?
I think, like you said earlier, there's diminishing returns on the hot dogs, but he could surely crammed in another 20 or so. I would think so.
I think we were on world record pace.
Yeah, I think he was on that pace for sure.
There's pettiness going. I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, but there's pettiness going on the world of Major League eating. I mean, do people even?
I know
give
it's such a shame. Yeah.
Yes, I mean this is your marquee event, and you don't. It would be like having whoever your favorite basketball player is leave for the finals because there was some weird contract dispute that sprang up all of a sudden. And the guy that's going to be bringing
like a dunk contest.
Yeah, he goes over to the Spanish league and dominates. I mean, it's outrageous. So, barbecue television has launched over the past week on July 4th, which might have been the worst night to launch a live fire show because of what's happened during the course of the day. You had Barbecue Showdown, and then last night you had Food Network's newest version of Barbecue Brawl. Are you watching either of those, or will you plan to?
I have not watched either of them yet. I agree. The last thing I was going to do on July 4th was sit down and turn on a barbecue show. We had a big cookout at the house and all that, and we're shooting fireworks off and did all the fun stuff. But no, I didn't even realize. I didn't even think that it wasn't on my radar screen they're on. I'm sure I'll watch them at some point, but I'm not a huge fan of the competition reality barbecue shows. I think they could be interesting, especially if I know somebody who's on there. That's usually the more interesting thing than just the head to head. So haven't watched them yet. I'm sure I'll see a few episodes here and there in the upcoming months.
I might tune in to the Food Network one because longtime show friend and friendo mine, Dr. Barbecue Ray Lampe, is cast on that show. I didn't know if he had seen his last days on television. Eventually you run your course and you're not getting the phone calls or the emails anymore, but I kind of know how this whole thing went down through insider information. And I'm not saying he was an afterthought, but I think he pitched himself and they were like, yeah, we'll keep you on the back burner. And then he got a call back a number of weeks later and they were like, were you serious? And he's like, yeah. And so I think he had to go through the auditioning phase at that point. But nevertheless, he's landed on it. And from what I'm hearing from folks that watched it last night, he is the veteran, but also the show hit out of episode one. So,
cool. I'll check it out because I'm definitely big fans of Ray. So I'd love to. I'll definitely watch him on anything.
We have a July topic tonight, which we're entitling Tracing the Influences and Adaptions of Southern Barbecue Outside the Region. So I was wondering if we wouldn't be able to explore how Southern barbecue traditions have migrated and interacted with other culinary cultures, both within the U.S. and then, of course, internationally.
Yeah. So it's a big topic. So maybe we'll just start taking it into pieces and see where we go. So I'll start with, you can really, as I've written and others have written, that barbecue was found all up and down the eastern seaboard of the American colonies, but really took root in Virginia, in the late 18th, early 19th century. Virginia was sort of the home or the birthplace of what we would think of as American style, 19th century style American barbecue, and then sort of spread from there, as along with the settlers as they moved west. So what surprised me when I started digging into the history of barbecue was how quickly and how far it spread in the 19th century. And these were the huge outdoor, whole animal cooking celebrations that we've talked about, but you can find them, basically as settlers moved west into Alabama, Tennessee, and then eventually into Texas, and then all the way out to California. There were barbecues in California at the time of the gold rush, Southern style, cooking big animals on pits. By the 1850s, it was just sort of a standard feature of the 4th of July, of any kind of the campaign season, everything else, all the way out on the West Coast in California. So Southern barbecue and all the way up to Washington, up into the Midwest. So Southern barbecue pretty quickly spread across the country and became an American, American wide tradition, as the United States spread westward.
as you see the move westward and then, west going north or west continuing west, west going south like Texas, is this where also, immigrants that are moving that way adapt or take Southern barbecue, but then are using their own ancestral roots to put their own spin on barbecue? And this is where you would find what we now have the meccas of Texas and Kansas City and Memphis and the Carolinas.
You see a little bit of that in the 19th century. There was a great account of a barbecue, 4th of July barbecue, I think, in California, 1850s maybe, where the speeches were in 4 different languages, so English, Spanish, German, and something else.
Oh, wow.
It was sort of reflecting the melting pot of immigrants who were settling in California at that time. But as far as I can tell, there was not a lot of cross-cultural influence on the barbecue itself in the 19th century. That's something that really more happened in the 20th century, and I think the restaurants sort of developed sort of in their in their different regions. You do see things like tamales coming up from Mexico and becoming part of the barbecue tradition in Mississippi. You definitely get in Texas the influence of chili powder and sort of what you might think is more Tex-Mex flavors in the barbecue fairly early on. But I think it's really those influences, the real cross-cultural influences where folks from either immigrants from other cultures or whose families came from somewhere else, came to America, found barbecue, and really started merging that. That's actually a fairly recent thing. When I first started writing about barbecue 20 years ago, I don't think you saw a lot of places where there were Korean inflected, ribs or, any kind of Mediterranean spice getting mixed in with lamb and then going on the barbecue pit. That really seems more of a phenomenon of the last 10 years. But definitely that has happened in the 21st century. Sort of, American barbecue spread across the country in the 19th century. Restaurants were huge, but then after World War II, sort of faded away. American barbecue stands, et cetera, sort of got eclipsed by fast food and sort of the chain restaurants and those types of things. And it was really only in the 1990s, early 2000s where people started sort of going back and rediscovering America's barbecue roots. And then as that sort of took off, and you had like the craft barbecue movement in Texas and all that type of thing, only then did you really start seeing the international influences coming and really changing the flavors. A lot of people will talk about things like the German immigrants bringing mustard to the party in the Carolinas. I'm pretty skeptical that has happened. I've talked and written about that in a lot of other places. That seems to have more just developed, just locally. There were not a lot of German immigrants, or at least there were people of German descent in the Carolinas, but most of them had arrived, 200 years before mustard sauce really became a thing. So I don't really see that kind of cross-cultural influence until much, much later, more in our, our memory in our lifetimes.
So you would say the development of the traditional barbecue meccas within the last 100 years or so?
Yeah. When you think like Lockhart, Texas, and places like that, yes. I mean that is really. I mean, the earliest you can really find barbecue stands and in barbecue restaurants is just on either side of 1900. But it really wasn't until early 20th century that these sort of towns began developing permanent barbecue restaurants that then sort of evolved and lasted and became, sort of the stylistic style bearers. Lexington, North Carolina, Lockhart, Texas, all those great, or Owensboro, Kentucky. That's all pretty much an early 20th century when those types of barbecue restaurants in those towns emerged.
Are there any unexpected places where Southern barbecue has left a mark?
Yes, and I always have a historical sort of lens on it. What I think is really curious is that barbecue went all the way out to California in the 1840s, 1850s, and sort of took root there, sort of American style barbecue. But it sort of got swept up in the late 19th, early 20th century in sort of this idealized Mexican rancho type. Is almost a romantic vision of California. sort of rural life, sort of blended in a little bit with Mexican cooking and Mexican fiestas. And then by the 1920s, that was sort of a defined style in California, where people were having these big, social gatherings on their ranches, and sort of having a lot of Mexican themes to it and things like that. What's curious about that, though, is that it then ended up coming back to the East Coast from California in the 1920s. In the 1920s, a lot of these New York-based sort of lifestyle women's magazines, country living type magazines, began running these features, which were all about having a California-style backyard barbecue. And it was really based on the barbecues that they would have at these ranches in California, which were descendants of the Southern barbecue. But you could do it in your backyard in your suburban, neighborhoods. At the time, the Northeast was suburbanizing, and it actually they had instructions for digging trenches and like, instead of cooking whole animals, you could cook cuts of beef or steak. Over a little backyard thing. And there was instructions on how to have a California style barbecue. And those led directly to the development of like brazier grills, getting up out of the ground and having coals. And then Henry Ford and Kings for Charcoal came along, and grills came along, and Weber kettles came along. And so there's actually a direct line that you could trace from the old Southern barbecues all the way out to California, and then all the way back to like New York and to the grills, and to what we would call grilling today.
You were recently on a trip to Europe. How do you, or did you see any type of American barbecue or live fire influences? So if we're talking about, bringing it over here to America, when you go out to Europe, what do you see us over there as?
Yeah, I was curious. I was just over. We took a family vacation went to London, various other parts, tours around England, and then went over to Amsterdam and spent a few days there. And I had spent a lot of time in London, 20 years ago, maybe. At that time, there was one American barbecue restaurant called Bodine's, and there was only one of them. They're now like 4 or 5 Bodine's locations, so it's still going strong. Wow. But, American style barbecue is very big in England, though it's not what we might quite recognize as barbecue. So as I was walking around, as we're eating, going places, so I kept my eye out, and I saw a lot more BBQ, specifically those words, those letters BBQ, at restaurants all around London. Even out when we took a little day trip out to Oxford, there's a couple places offering American barbecue, but it's really not. There are some places that will do brisket. It's sort of like the whole mixture: brisket, ribs, chicken. But by and large, if you're saying barbecue, they're talking grilling. One of my favorite ones. We took a walk along the south bank of the Thames River. And there's this big sort of open air kind of restaurant called Jimmy's Barbecue Club on the banks of the Thames. And I stopped. I actually had a beer there. Didn't bother to order anything. But what's interesting is that behind the counter they had a couple big green eggs, and they're going away, and there's smoke, sort of going across the crowd. You can smell it. And they have these picnic areas, which these are by the water, with these big picnic tables, but they have big green eggs sort of embedded in the table. So you can rent those out and have the chef come and barbecue for you right there on the big green egg. But the menu is pretty much, there's burgers, there's kebabs, including lamb kebabs, some chicken sandwiches, but that's about the extent of the barbecue there. Another one I noticed, we had a great meal at Rules, Rules, which is the oldest restaurant in London. It was founded in 1798 as an oyster bar, and it's sort of evolved over the years. It was sort of where all the actresses and everybody and their hangers-on would dine in the Victorian era, and it's still going strong. It specializes in English game. Unfortunately, I could not get the famous grouse because it was out of season. You can only get that when they're shooting the grouse. So I had a rump steak instead. It was great. All this old British cooking. But right across the street in this little alley in the Covent Garden area is a delightful restaurant called The Big Easy. It's Big Easy Barbecue, Crab Shack, and Lobster Shack. So if you think about the Big Easy, New Orleans, you think lobster and you think barbecue for sure.
Yep.
That's what you're getting down in New Orleans. It did have that sort of all mashed up. There was Carolina style pulled pork, Texas brisket. I didn't bother to go in and actually try it. It looked fine. But then you could get my favorite was you could get the surf and turf, half a rack of pork ribs and a half a lobster, grilled lobster together, just like we do here in the U.S. So there is a lot of interest in American barbecue. I don't know how how tight it is. While we were in Oxford, we visited a great bookstore called Blackwell's, which may well be the biggest bookstore I've ever been in. It's pretty big on the ground floor, and you just go down in this basement. It just opens up, and there's just every book under the sun. And they actually have a barbecue section, BBQ, and it's about 2 shelves maybe. And so I was like, okay, so what are they reading about barbecue over here? Expecting to see a lot of the usual suspects. The Meathead's book was not in Blackwell's, nor were any other American books that I
not
have
even a Stephen Reichland book.
No Stephen Reichland.
Wow.
At all.
No Robert
we
Moss.
do have Dr. Barbecue. No Robert Moss. I was actually I was looking to see if they had Barbecue: The History of American Institution
right. Why wouldn't
on the
you?
shelf. They do not. Nor any books from anybody who I actually know. We have Dr. Barbecue here.
Yeah.
They have a guy called DJ Barbecue.
Yes, DJ Barbecue. Yes. Very famous.
DJ Barbecue. But I think I picked up the book, and I think sort of like an indication of where British barbecue is. There is early chapters called "Forget the Gas, What is Charcoal?" So it's really just introducing British folks into the idea that you can go out back and cook on charcoal. There are actually that book does have pork shoulder and things like that in it, but most of it is kebabs and burgers and steaks. And so going all the way back to that's exactly the kind of thing that in the 1950s Americans were putting on their new barbecue grills. So I would say that when it comes to traditional Southern style barbecue, Britain is about 50 years behind us on catching up.
Did you stop at Beefy Boys and grab any of their burgers?
I did. I did not. I will say there are burger restaurants all over the place. Burgers have definitely taken over, probably even more so in Amsterdam. I Googled a few places. I wasn't going to go out of my way. There are some supposedly American-style barbecue places in Amsterdam. Boy, on every block, there is a burger bar. Yeah. And everyone is apparently selling the best burger in Amsterdam. So burgers are definitely gigantic, even if Carolina style mustard sauce is not.
Robert Moss is joining us once again, giving us all the education that we can handle. RobertFMoss.com, his website, and we will see you in August, if you can believe it.
I can't believe it's that we're already halfway through the year, but I know. Looking forward to it.
All right, we'll see you then. Robert Moss right there. Banging it up as always. Absolutely incredible, great insight. And really interested in hearing how it moves from the colonization, the East Coast, and then infecting American Southern style barbecue across the country and how it shapes its own ways. It's great. Well, looky here, Jimmy Shotwell. In the instant chat. I'll read his comment when we come back. Hey, what do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient, yes. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats, of course. We love that you can get rip-roaring hot for the high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday ceramic grill lineup? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking, very important to both professional and backyard cooks alike. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker is not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grill and their game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute that two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. And when you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo cooker. So you're only limited by your culinary imagination. Accessories, absolutely all that you want and then some to complete your Primo experience. Only sold through dealers. So go to primogrill.com, find a dealer near you, and then check them out in person. And if the XL isn't big enough for you, remember they have introduced the XXL, which is 25% bigger than the XL. I have the XL in my backyard. I use it a lot. I find that for a family of 5, fits me just fine. If you like to cook a lot more food than for a family of 5 at any given point, the XXL might be one you want to check out. Here's the bottom line. Best ceramics in the biz. Yes, patented technology. Yes, true 2-zone cooking capabilities and multiple sizes of ovals. Yes, and yes. Visit primogrill.com for a dealer near you. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram. It's Dick Bauer and the gang over there at Primo Grills. We're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
We thank Robert Moss for joining us the last segment, talking about the influences and adaptations of Southern barbecue outside the region. RobertFMoss.com is the website. Memphis Barbecue Supply just posted this in the YouTube chat. Memphis in May damage bill this year, $34,000, down from $1.4 million. Official announcement in August. What? Well, it just goes to show that Smoke Slam participants, organizers, and partakers are a much more of an elite, careful, and mindful status. And Memphis in May is a bunch of muckety-mucks trashing the joint. They don't care. Or is it? All right, we're a little over. We'll make up the clock, and then we'll have James Howe on the show, 10:14. So stick around, and we'll be right back.